There are times in life when people will expect you to take a side. They may look you in the eye and ask, "Are you with me, or are you against me?" And if you hesitate, if you say you need time to understand, or that you'd rather stay neutral, you might suddenly find yourself standing alone. As if choosing not to pick a side makes you dangerous to both. But the truth is, staying neutral doesn't mean you are confused. In fact, sometimes, it's the clearest sign of inner strength. Because when you are deeply connected to your own center, you start to see things differently. You begin to understand that the world isn't divided into clean lines and simple labels. And when you allow yourself to be pulled into other people's battles without clarity, you are only adding more noise to a world already full of it. Before the war of Kurukshetra began, both Arjuna and Duryodhana approached Krishna. They came asking for his support. One stood for dharma. The other was driven by pride. But Krishna did something unexpected. He didn't choose a side based on emotion. He didn't raise his voice or pick up a weapon. He said, calmly, that he would not fight. Instead, he would remain present, simply as a guide, a charioteer, but not as a soldier in the war. At first, that might have looked like a passive decision. But if you look deeper, there was clarity beneath it. Krishna knew that choosing a side based only on loyalty or pressure would take him away from his true purpose. And that's something many of us forget. Not every situation needs our opinion. Not every conflict needs our judgment. And not everyone who shouts the loudest is actually speaking the truth. In everyday life, we often feel caught between people, ideas, or groups, each one trying to convince us they're right. And the more we listen, the more we feel pushed to choose a side, even when we are not fully sure what side we truly believe in. But when we move under pressure instead of clarity, something inside starts to shift. We begin to lose our connection to ourselves. We begin to say yes when we mean no. We confuse loyalty with agreement, thinking we owe people our support, even when it goes against our inner voice. But Krishna's choice to remain neutral before the war wasn't an escape. It was deliberate. He chose to stay grounded in truth rather than getting swept up in division. His role was not to fight, but to guide. Not to take revenge, but to help others see clearly. Not to win an argument, but to help Arjuna reconnect with his own dharma. In the Gita, Krishna reminds Arjuna to rise above opposites, to see with evenness, not through the lens of friend or enemy, but through the eyes of clarity. That doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we begin to care with wisdom, not just emotion. It means we hold steady even when others lose balance. There is a kind of strength that lives in silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of someone who refuses to speak until the words are truly worth sharing. There is power in not reacting. There is peace in choosing not to let anger or urgency control your actions. And there is freedom in knowing that even if others don't understand your silence, you are aligned with your own truth. In a world that moves fast, where people speak loudly and expect immediate answers, choosing to pause, to reflect, and to wait for clarity can feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort is not weakness. It's a sign that you are listening more deeply, that you've stopped chasing approval and started trusting your inner compass. Because choosing alignment over sides may seem subtle, but it changes everything. When you stop rushing to commit, when you stop letting the world drag you into every conflict, you begin to create space. And in that space, something shifts. Wisdom starts to rise. Compassion begins to breathe. And your choices become guided, not by pressure, but by peace. So the next time you find yourself pulled into a situation where someone demands to know where you stand, take a breath. Ask yourself, am I being pushed by emotion or guided by clarity? Am I reacting out of pressure or responding from a place of inner peace? Krishna didn't decide based on who shouted the loudest. He didn't take sides to avoid discomfort or to please others. He remained close to Dharma, to the quiet path of truth, even if that meant standing in stillness while others moved in chaos. And that stillness wasn't emptiness. It was presence. It was awareness. It was power. You are allowed to hold that kind of power due. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to observe before choosing. You are allowed to walk away from noise that doesn't deserve your energy. Choosing neutrality isn't lack of care. Sometimes, it's proof that you care deeply enough to wait until you are truly clear. Because when your decisions are made from alignment, not attachment, you carry something the world is quietly craving. Not more arguments, but peace. Not more reactions, but stillness. Not more division, but the strength to remain whole.